Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Punaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvina Vadidamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Do you feel as if life has become so busy, noisy, and so demanding that you've somehow lost touch with yourself? It's as if you keep going, keep taking care of everyone around you, and keep thinking your way through every problem or situation. And yet, there's actually a quiet part of you that is asking for something deeper. Many people have come to me over the years believing they were looking for healing, but I think what they were really looking for was a way back to self. And that's why today I want to answer a very simple question that I've been asked for more than 35 years on this path, and that is, what does Reiki really give you? Namaste and welcome to the Spiritual Wealth Podcast. I'm your host, Alexandra Savitri Amba, founder of the American Reiki Academy, Los Angeles' oldest Reiki school, and the Vedic Healing Center. I'm a Reiki master, Vedic Healing master, healer, and spiritual guide. For more than 35 years, I've taught thousands of people healing and spiritual self-development, and I've also led sacred pilgrimages to India, where I've had the privilege of studying with blessed teachers and gurus. In this show, we explore topics related to metaphysics, Reiki, Vedic healing, mantra, manifestation, spiritual growth, and feng shui based upon my studies and work in these disciplines. The aim of this show is to help you awaken, develop, and tap into your spiritual power so you may live well, manifest your dreams, and ultimately fulfill your unique divine purpose by working from the inside out. It all starts with energy. Welcome to today's episode, and I have been guided to do this episode because it is prompted by many people asking me this very simple question: what does Reiki give you? So before I talk about that, I wanted to discuss the idea that life has become so busy and demanding and rather stressful. And I feel that if we keep going and keep pushing our way through everything, deep inside, there's actually something speaking to us that's asking us to return to a more peaceful place. And today, I want to explore that through the question, what does Reiki really give you? And this is a different question from what is Reiki. You can read definitions of Reiki online. You can watch videos explaining its history or its principles, but those explanations don't really tell you what it feels like to live with Reiki as a practitioner, or even as someone who is a recipient of frequent healings. And that's what I want to share with you today. So When people first come to a Reiki class, they're often hoping that Reiki will help them perhaps with situations in their life that are causing them discord or some kind of difficult period in their life. And certainly it does help that. But many times people come to me simply through an inner prompting, and they say over and over, I have heard this, I don't know why I'm here, but I'm being guided to do this. And I find this really remarkable because what's happening is actually the energy of Reiki, and I'll talk about that in a second, is prompting you to start listening again to your intuition, to your intuitive voice. So it really has a remarkable ability to bring you back to that voice. And again, as I said, there are many definitions of Reiki. I always tell people it is a modality, but it's also an energy. The word Reiki means universal life force energy. So when you learn Reiki or when you receive healing sessions, you are tapping into this flow of energy. And there are beautiful gifts that Reiki gives you. It brings your body and mind into a deep state of relaxation. Both the practitioner of Reiki, this is what's quite interesting, and the recipient of Reiki. You may sleep better. You may feel more calm. Everything begins to settle down in your system. And usually after receiving a healing session, people say they feel deeply tranquil. They feel lighter. They feel so peaceful. They feel as if they have woken up from a deep sleep, even if they weren't sleeping during the session. That's the level of relaxation they received. But after teaching and practicing Reiki for so long, I've also started to think that all of these things are not even the greatest gifts that Reiki has to offer. Instead, I'm going to propose here that Reiki gives us a relationship with ourselves. So let me rephrase that actually. I'm going to say Reiki returns us to having a relationship with ourselves. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean is that often we become disconnected from self, from the energy that exists within us. You can call this your higher self, the still small voice of God, of spirit. We become, all of us, disconnected from that. So when we start doing Reiki or perhaps receiving treatments as well, and I say perhaps because really, Reiki is cumulative, so the more sessions you receive, the more you would experience this. From one session, you might not experience this phenomenon where you say, I all of a sudden feel reconnected to myself. You might, but often it's after getting a sequence of sessions, and certainly after learning Reiki for sure. So Reiki gives you or returns to you that connection with self. It's almost like it gives you permission to be still again. And in stillness, there is wisdom. So one of the reasons we meditate is to move into a space of deep stillness, deep quiet, deep resonance with spirit, with light, with God, with divinity, whatever you want to call it. So Reiki is giving you a similar kind of experience. It gives you also permission to not only connect with this voice or to become quiet, but to listen, to really be able to tune in and listen and become aware that there is much more to you than your thoughts, your worries, your body, your emotional upset, or the roller coaster you might find yourself on. Instead, it starts asking you or giving you the ability to connect with a deep tranquility, as I said, within you. I used that word before. So we become, I think, somewhere along the way, I'm just thinking about this, as we grow up, we become problem solvers because we know that this world is going to request of us the ability to figure things out. And you can easily move into too much mental body activity. That's where you have what we would call mental overload or overwhelm. But Reiki is going to return you to a state of stillness where you're no longer trying to figure everything out. You're instead going to slip into what is really a natural state of allowing, of just being in tune with energy, with yourself, with spirit, with your higher self, with a higher sense of wisdom. And so how this translates, if this sounds a little too out there, let me get a little more practical. How this might translate is that you become more intuitive. And yes, that's practical to me. So you become more in touch with your intuitive gifts. This may seem the opposite of practical to you. That's why I laughed. But really, this is our natural state, to be connected to the intuitive voice. And if everything else I said sounded a little too out there, that's why I said, oh, this is going to sound more practical. You know, if I said, oh, you're more connected to the divine wisdom or source energy or your higher self, if all of that sounds too out there, instead, think about the word intuition. So your intuition is that innate, so natural state inside of you that is always guiding you and is asking you to do this or to go there or to call this person or to investigate this certain thing or to make a move in a different direction. Your intuition is always communicating with you. And yet we become so good at pushing it aside so that we can figure things out on the mental body level. But Reiki, it's not that it's giving you special powers. It's returning you again to this innate sense where the mental chatter starts to quiet down. And when the mind becomes very still and quiet, we naturally then again hear our own inner wisdom more clearly, more readily, more regularly, and what else? More naturally, I would say. See, your connection with your intuition is already a natural state. But when we forget about it, it feels unnatural. When we remember it again, we say, this is a natural way of being. It's just something I have forgotten. And so when people move into Reiki, for instance, students might tell me they feel more peaceful. Oh, here's something. I just thought of this. When I teach Reiki and I initiate people into Reiki, which is where the energy gets activated in the hands, we often do, or we do some practice during class so they can feel the energy. And very, very often people say to me, I didn't expect to enjoy this because you are standing still and moving your hands through a sequence of hand positions. And I think people at first think, oh, this is going to be a little tedious, but they close their eyes and they enjoy the process so much. And let's see some other results of what Reiki gives to you. I think Reiki also gives you, or again, I'm always saying returns to you, because these may have been things that you had and forgot about. It will return to you a kind of spiritual practice. Now, for another episode, I will discuss the difference between a spiritual practice and a religious experience or practice. Many times people confuse that a little bit, but let's say, suffice it to say for this episode, when I say people feel they have found a spiritual practice, they say that this is a way for them to connect with spirit, with something beyond this body, with something beyond this experience. And they find this connection to be simple, gentle, and very, very nourishing. The other thing I've seen about Reiki, what it gives to people, is more compassion, either with themselves or towards others, because Reiki opens your heart. Reiki, it works on all levels, but primarily it works with your heart to expand your heart so that you really have more compassion for, again, yourself or others, or it's not that, again, you didn't have that. It's that you're tapping into it again. You're returning to that natural state of love, of unconditional love, of seeing the interconnectedness amongst us all, of seeing your journey in someone else's journey, of seeing familiar pain in someone else's pain, of just being connected to all of life around you. And so you may find yourself being more kind to yourself again, and to others. Sometimes we get into the habit of being more kind to others than we are to ourselves. But Reiki starts to also soften how we are with ourselves. We start to notice that if we can be completely unconditionally loving during a session, let's say we're doing a session on someone, a Reiki session, and you somehow, when the heart opens up, you feel the other person's situation. I was going to say pain, but you feel their whole situation in life. and you feel all the angst and all the struggles and everything, and you develop a great empathy for that being. You feel actually that you're not outside of it, that you are connected, but more than connected. It's like you can touch their experience. And so many of us find that compassion opens up more towards others than it does to ourselves. Then we can become very critical of ourselves. But Reiki has a way of softening that also, that inner voice that can be so harsh for ourselves, because ultimately it reminds us that healing is about feeling and being and embodying unconditional love towards all, and that includes us. You know, there's a beautiful chant that I do, and it's 4 words in Sanskrit, and it means, may all the beings in all the worlds be blessed. And sometimes when we do that, we think we're praying for all of humanity, but all of humanity includes us. When I begin classes and sessions, or gatherings, not so much a Reiki session, but when I begin different things that I'm teaching, we begin with a guided meditation. And one of the things I ask for people to do is put themselves into the white light energy that we are visualizing, whatever visualization I'm doing. So we're so used to putting other people into our intentions and prayers sometimes when we're doing a group kind of invocation, but let's not forget about ourselves. So the Reiki is about returning us to who we really are, to that pure white light energy. And over the years, I've taught people from all walks of life. I've taught, people from so many different backgrounds. I've taught teachers, doctors, people in the healing arts, parents, business owners. I've taught children. I've taught also people in their 80s, and really just people from so many vast backgrounds, doctors, nurses, acupuncturists, actors, musicians. It's so fascinating to see who is drawn to Reiki. Some people come because they're just curious. As I said, they feel like something is leading them. Some people come because they're facing illness with themselves or perhaps with a family member. And this is very humbling for me when I teach somebody who is dealing with illness. Some people come to Reiki because life has become overwhelming. Let's say they come for a session and they feel overwhelmed and oppressed with stress and tension, and the Reiki has called to them. Everyone comes to Reiki for a particular reason, but I want to say what's also interesting is often you think you're being led because of something. However, it's really that there's a deeper purpose awakening in you, or a deeper awareness, which is fascinating. So everybody comes to Reiki with a different set of experiences, with different stresses, of course, stress factors, but at the same time, there is a common thread that we see running through everything, and that is a disconnection from light, from love, from spirit, from God, from whatever you want to call it, but a disconnection from source energy. And again, if this sounds too out there for you, you can insert whatever word resonates with you. I often tell people Reiki is like pure liquid love. Pure liquid love energy flowing through the practitioner into the recipient. And if you choose to learn Reiki, you, the practitioner, can also do Reiki on yourself. In fact, we do self-healing as the first plan. So before we work on anyone else, we work on ourselves. And I love to see what people experience after they learn Reiki. I never know. I can't tell you exactly what you're going to experience. Again, it may bring a great sense of peace. It may awaken creativity. It may spark and strengthen your intuition. Or it may be also a remembrance of you having done healing work before, and therefore it becomes very familiar and comfortable for you. So again, I don't think the greatest gift of Reiki is the ability to place our hands on someone. I think the greatest gift is that it creates change in the relationships we have with ourselves and with others. We become calmer, we become more trusting, we become more aware, we become more present, and we start living, I've used this term before, from the inside out. Instead of constantly looking outside of ourselves and creating stories about our lives. If we only had more, if we only had whatever, you can fill in the blank, then we would be peaceful. That's the backwards equation, have, do, be. So with Reiki and any kind of spiritual practice, we start to live from the inside out. And as we increase our beingness, we increase the ability to do and the ability to have. And the havingness becomes really a byproduct of the beingness, if that makes sense. I'll go into that in another episode, but it just came up for me to say it, so I thought I would mention it. So we're working from the inside out with Reiki, and this is why people say Reiki changed their life. I had an experience I just thought of somebody who came to me who was a smoker, and I did a Reiki initiation. I taught him level 1, and after that he never had the desire to smoke again. It's really mysterious. He didn't come with the agenda to stop smoking. He came because he wanted to learn Reiki, and he wanted to do sessions on people. But after he had been initiated in Reiki, he said the desire to smoke fell away. So it's really interesting to watch what it gives to people. I tell people it's going to give you exactly what you need. So if you've been thinking about Reiki, maybe start to ask yourself, instead of, will Reiki fix this problem I have in my life? For instance, the guy who was the smoker, he didn't come to class saying, I want to learn this to see if Reiki stops my smoking. Instead, what might become possible in my life if I learned to tap into energy and become still enough to receive gifts. And just to be open, the Reiki is going to give you vast gifts, vast treasures that cannot be adequately explained, and especially cannot be explained in the beginning fully, because, as I said, the whole experience of working with energy is cumulative. And so you will find that the benefits of working with this energy on a consistent basis, on a regular basis, just like exercise, the benefits will be so incredible as you keep going. And that's why we do the levels. That's why we do our practices. That's why we give healings. I teach Reiki, but I also give healings. I know every time I give a healing, not only is that person benefiting, but I am also benefiting. And also the atmosphere is benefiting. The space is noticeably different after doing a Reiki healing. And I love that. It's palpable, it's in the air, and it is so blessed. So I hope this has helped you or answered some questions. And if you are interested in exploring Reiki, feel free to reach out to me. You can DM me on Instagram or connect with me via my website. There's also an audio called Discover Reiki on my website that has some more information. Until next time, may you be blessed, may you be happy, may you be peaceful. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om. Om Sai Ram. Jai Guruji. Om Amriteshwari Namaha. Hare Krishna. Om Namah Shivaya.